working to connect a region of over 600 million bridges between our lands.
Good evening, I'm Alma Angeles, and you're watching ASEAN in Focus on tonight's headlines. More than 250 Thai nationals stranded in Myanmar Shan State amid intensified fighting between the junta and ethnic minority groups are set to be repatriated through China. President Marcos Jr. shared his perspectives on the West Philippine Sea issue during a roundtable discussion at the Daniel Inoy Asia-Pacific Center for Security Studies in Honolulu. And in discussions about the Philippines' ASEAN chairmanship in 2026, President Marcos expressed the country's commitment to actively engage in efforts to resolve the ongoing crisis in Myanmar. Israel's military released security camera footage that showed hostages being brought into Al-Shifa Hospital in Gaza City after being kidnapped in the October 7 Hamas attacks on southern Israel.
Another hostage, gunmen are
First in our news, more than 250 Thai nationals stranded in Myanmar Shan State amid intensified fighting between the junta and ethnic minority groups are set to be repatriated through China, according to Thailand's foreign ministry announced today. The recent surge in hostilities, which began in late October, has seen the Myanmar National Democratic Alliance Army, Tang National Liberation Army, and the Arakan Army launch coordinated attacks against the military. The rugged terrain of northern Shan State, bordering China, has borne the brunt of the clashes, with fighting nearing the town of Lao Cai, a notorious center for gambling, prostitution, and online scams. In response to the volatile situation, Thai authorities have secured 2 chartered flights from Kunming, China to Bangkok to facilitate the repatriation of trapped Thai nationals. Upon arrival in Bangkok, the evacuees undergo screening for human trafficking and potential criminal records. Non-Thai nationals, including Filipinos and Singaporeans, assisted in the evacuation efforts will also be assisted by their respective embassies in Bangkok to continue their journey home. This evacuation follows the repatriation of 41 Thais across the land border between Thailand and Myanmar on Saturday. The United Nations Human Rights Office is closely monitoring the escalating conflict in Myanmar, where anti-military armed groups and their allies have made significant gains, and a reported several hundred troops have laid down their arms.
It is essential that all those captured are treated humanely. Reprisals are absolutely forbidden. Individual soldiers are not collectively responsible for crimes and human rights violations that have been committed by the military.
The fighting has resulted in over 90 injuries and over 70 civilian and hors combat deaths, and more than 200,000 people have been internally displaced since October 27.
We are particularly alarmed by renewed fighting between the military and the Arakan Army in Rakhine State after an informal 12-month ceasefire, which poses grave risks to both the ethnic Rakhine and Rohingya communities.
OHCHR is renewing its appeal to all member states, particularly those with influence over the parties, to take forceful action and intensify efforts to end the crisis and protect civilians. It also urges them to increase pressure for a peaceful handover of power to a representative civilian government.
We are concerned, given past patterns, that as the military loses ground on multiple fronts, its response risks unleashing an even greater force through indiscriminate and disproportionate airstrikes and artillery barrages. Over the past 2 years, we have documented the severe impact of such tactics on the civilian population.
A boat carrying 256 Rohingya refugees arrived in Aceh Province's Biruin district, according to United Nations Refugee Agency Protection Associate Faisal Rahman. Now, this marks one of the largest arrivals of Rohingya refugees since Myanmar's military crackdown on the minority group in 2017. The boat reaching Birawen was the same vessel that had been pushed back out to sea by locals on Thursday, leaving the refugees stranded off the coast for several days.
Benar, itu sudah terkonfirmasi dan itu juga dikonfirmasi oleh rekan-rekan dari keamanan TNI Polri bahwa ini adalah boat yang sama ataupun pengungsi yang sama yang waktu itu ditolak di Irin dan di Aceh Utara.
This incident highlights the plight of Rohingya refugees who are desperately fleeing persecution in Myanmar and seeking safety in neighboring countries.
I came from Bangladesh. I am Rohingya. I stayed there as a refugee. I want to go anywhere if you wish. I feel very sad because my parents are in trouble in Bangladesh. That is why I can tell you everything what are in my mind. Please protect us and please help us to go anywhere.
In addition to the Birawen arrival, at least 239 Rohingya refugees reach Aceh's PD region, while a smaller boat carrying 36 refugees arrived in East Aceh. These latest arrivals bring the total number of Rohingya refugees who have landed in Aceh province this week to over 800. The UN Refugee Agency is closely monitoring the situation and is calling for urgent action to address the ongoing Rohingya refugee crisis. More than 6 weeks after a surprise Hamas strike prompted Israel's air and ground offensive, which it has sworn to destroy Gaza. The largest tunnel in Gaza, located 55 meters beneath the Al-Shifa hospital in Gaza City, was discovered by the Israeli military on Sunday. The tunnel is beneath the building where troops have been conducting a significant operation. Unfathomable levels of violence have been raging in Gaza in recent days, according to the UN rights head. The largest hospital in Gaza in the center of the fighting in recent days, Al-Shifa Hospital was declared a death zone by the World Health Organization after it led an assessment team there and strongly recommended a complete evacuation.
My office is not partisan, but yes, I am taking sides. I am on the side of every civilian, Palestinian or Israeli, who is harmed or who lives in fear. Every one of them has exactly the same rights to live and thrive in peace and freedom. That is the promise of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. There must be an end to grave human rights violations, notably against children. All forms of collective punishment must come to an end. All hostages must be released. International humanitarian and human rights law must be immediately and fully respected, including the principles of necessity, distinction, precaution, and proportionality.
In a high-risk operation on Sunday, Palestinian medical personnel evacuated 31 preterm newborns from Al-Shifa, according to the UN. They reportedly promised to relocate the hospital's other patients and workers.
طبعا هؤلاء الأطفال تعرضوا لأذى شديد أثناء إقامتهم في مجمع الشفاء نتيجة لمنع كل مقومات الخدمة الصحية الموجودة في مجمع الشفاء. اكتشفنا أن حتى المياه التي كانوا تقدم لهم الرضعات فيها لحليب الأطفال كانت مياه ملوثة ولم يتم تعقيمها لعدم توفر أي مقومات من مقومات التعقيم، وهذا سبب لهم حالات من القيء والإسهال وانخفاض في أوزانهم. بدل أن يكسب وزنهم كان وزنهم ينقص، وهذا سبب لهم أذى شديد. في بعضهم دخل في تسمم في الدم والتهابات شديدة وتجرثم في الدم.
Meanwhile, Israel's military released security camera footage that showed hostages being brought into Al-Shifa hospital in Gaza City after being kidnapped in the October 7 Hamas attacks on southern Israel. In one of the clips, a man is brought in on a gurney by several individuals, at least 4 of them armed, while another struggles to resist while being forcibly dragged into a building resembling a hospital.
Another jeep, another Israeli vehicle, military vehicle, entering into the Shifa hospital, using the Shifa hospital as a human shield shelter to Hamas terrorists, bringing military equipment to the vicinity of the hospital.
According to Israeli police, the video appears to be time-stamped on October 7, 2023, the day Hamas fighters surged into southern Israel, killing over 1,200 people, largely civilians, and seizing about 240 more.
This is 7th of October, 10:55 a.m. The evidence I will share was sent by Israel to diplomatic channels to the countries of those civilians. Here you can see Hamas taking a hostage inside the vicinity. He doesn't look he even doesn't look need a treatment, but they're taking it inside the hospital. I will now share this video that shows the same hostage entering into the hospital with a gunman, terrorist, inside the hospital. This is the main entrance of the hospital. This is at 10:55 a.m. They're entering another hostage. Gunmen are entering another hostage from those countries I mentioned into the vicinity. The terrorists are guarding the room. We have not yet located both of these hostages and rescued them. We have not yet located them. We do not know where they are. They're still hostages we need to rescue. The world must remember, Hamas is holding the elderly, men, women, children, babies, hostage. The Israel Defense Forces has a moral obligation to bring every one of our hostages home. The sensitive information that I will be revealing now was shared with the Marziano family this morning. 19-year-old IDF Corporal Noah Marziano was taken hostage by Hamas terrorists during the massacre of October 7th. Noah was taken into Gaza alive. She was held hostage by Hamas in Gaza City next to the Shifa hospital. During ongoing combat in the vicinity of where she was held captive, Noah Hamas captor was killed and Noah was injured. I repeat, she was only injured. An independent pathological report has determined Noah's injuries were not life-threatening. I repeat, Noah's injuries were not life-threatening. What happened to Noah? The world should ask what happened to Noah. According to the intelligence we have in our hand, a concrete intelligence, Hamas terrorists took Noah into Shifa hospital, where she was murdered quickly. Hamas murdered Noah inside Shifa hospital. Our thoughts are with Noah's family.
Now, during his recent visit to Honolulu, President Marcos Jr. engaged in a series of strategic engagements aimed at strengthening ties with the U.S. and addressing regional challenges. At the U.S. Indo-Pacific Command headquarters, the President received a comprehensive briefing on the capabilities and mission of the Joint Base Pearl Harbor-Hickam West Philippine Sea Support. This orientation provided him with valuable insights into the U.S. military's role in maintaining peace and stability in the Indo-Pacific region. Subsequently, the President participated in a barge tour and wreath-laying ceremony at Pearl Harbor, paying homage to the brave men and women who sacrificed their lives during World War II. Now, this solemn tribute underscored the enduring bond between the Philippines and the U.S. The President also engaged in a roundtable discussion at the Daniel Inouye Asia-Pacific Center for Security Studies, sharing his perspectives on the West Philippine Sea issue.
And as I mentioned in my remarks, really what the foreign policy of the Philippines is really rather simple. And it really comes down to two things. Number one, peace, and number two, the national interest. And in that sense, we no longer subscribe to the old thinking, wherein it is a bipolar world, and each of the countries will choose whether to be with the Soviet Union or to be with the United States. I do not think it is not, in my view, this is no longer applicable, no longer relevant to the way the state of affairs as they have evolved geopolitically. So it is important that we continue to strengthen that partnership. And the main partner is of the Philippines is, of course, the United States. But starting with that, we also feel that it is the way forward is to strengthen our partnerships in all, with all our neighbors and with all friendly nations who share our ideals, who share our aspirations, who share our values and the respect for the international rule of law. But again, the bedrock of any of these partnerships is the partnership and the treaty arrangement that we have, the mutual defense treaty that we have with the United States.
The president expressed concerns over recent incidents involving Chinese and Philippine vessels, including the collision in the West Philippine Sea in October. He also raised the issue of fishing rights in the disputed waters.
Well, now it's becoming more and more often. Every so often, whenever there is a confrontation between outside forces and Philippine forces. This is, unfortunately, as I have said to some of our partners, unfortunately, I cannot report that the situation is improving. The situation has become more dire than it was before. The nearest reefs that the PLA have started to show interest in terms of slowly using these atolls, these shoals, as a basis for building. Basis really is what they are approaching, have come closer and closer to the Philippine coastline. And the nearest one is now around 60 nautical miles from the nearest Philippine coast. And this is an evolving situation. If you will remember, the Spratly Islands was used by the by the U.S. Navy as a bombing range for a very long time. And so there was no question that this was part of the Philippines. Now they have fallen into the hands of a foreign power. And many of these features that are in the West Philippine Sea are slowly being turned into bases, really. Admiral Aquilino just showed me a relief sort of map, not map, but model of one of them. And it is remarkable how the extensive construction and the level of commitment that has been made to those military bases. And so it's not, it is something that in our view, of course, the United States, once again, is the bedrock, is the foundation for all that. But the more allies we find to speak up whenever such incursions occur, such incidents or events occur, then I think the stronger that voice will be.
In discussions about the Philippine ASEAN chairmanship in 2026, President Marcos expressed the Philippines' commitment to actively engage in efforts to resolve the ongoing crisis in Myanmar. He emphasized the importance of adopting a pragmatic approach, stating,
"It has really been a difficult problem for the whole of ASEAN. I'm a great believer that you should try everything everywhere all the time. Simply because you cannot predict by any stretch of the imagination where it will succeed. And my best example is always, who would have thought that diplomatic relations between the US and China would come about because of table tennis? But it did. And so let's try everything. Let's talk to our friends, perhaps our adversaries, but try everything. And that is what we will try to promote. We are perfectly aware of the history of such negotiations. And for example, the peace treaty that was in fact signed in Oslo, that was unofficial between in the Middle East. And again, the China-US. And there are many examples of this. And that's why when the chair comes to the Philippines, we will once again remind our partners and say that we should not be too picky about how we get in touch or how we communicate with the military leadership in Myanmar, on how we negotiate and how we discuss with the other stakeholders.
In other news tonight, in a sobering assessment, the UN World Meteorological Organization, or WMO, has issued a stark warning that greenhouse gas concentrations in the Earth's atmosphere have reached a new record high, with carbon dioxide levels surpassing pre-industrial levels by a staggering 50%.
We have again broken less comfortable records in main greenhouse gases, carbon dioxide, methane and nitrous oxide. And for example, now we have 150% more carbon dioxide in the atmosphere than we had during the pre-industrial times.
The WMO's annual Greenhouse Gas Bulletin report, released on Wednesday, November 15, paints a grim picture of the escalating climate crisis.
The warming impact of those gases, and you can see that the carbon dioxide is responsible for 2/3 of the warming, methane a little bit less than 20%, nitrous oxide 6%, and the ozone depleting gases, where we have seen luckily a drop in the emissions. They are altogether responsible for 11% of the warming potential. The lifetime of these gases is so long that they are distributed equally worldwide. So there's if what is emitted in China doesn't stay in China, but it's in some months it's equally distributed worldwide.
The report highlights that the relentless rise in greenhouse gases will inevitably lead to further temperature increases, fueling a surge in extreme weather events such as heat waves, torrential rainfall, glacial melting, and sea level rise.
The impacts of climate change, they are different in different parts of the world. Here in Europe, we have seen an increase of heat waves. We have seen a dramatic increase in the melting of glaciers, and depending on year, we have seen increase of both droughts and flooding.
Underscoring the urgency of the situation, the WMO cautions that even if greenhouse gas emissions are rapidly reduced to net zero, the current CO2 levels will persist for several decades due to its long atmospheric lifespan.
Climate change is not only a temperature issue, but it's wider change in our behavior of atmosphere, and we have already seen practically the whole planet has seen an increase of heat waves. About half of the planet has been facing an increase of flooding events, and 1/3 of the planet has been facing an increase of drought events. And this negative trend will continue until 2060s. This year will be the warmest year on record. We will publish the report at the COP28 in a couple of weeks, but so far it looks like we will reach the all-time high, because we have just switched from La Nina to El Nino year, and besides the normal high temperatures in Pacific, we have also seen very high temperatures in the Atlantic Ocean, which is unusual.
Embark on a year-long mega adventure with Snoopy and Friends at SM Mega Mall's interactive exhibit, featuring the Philippines' largest inflatable. Experience a 360-degree immersive journey through Snoopy's comic strips, showcasing whimsical colors for each season. Visit the Snoopy Mega Adventure Tunnel at Event Center Mega A from November 17 to January 6 next year. Present a 1,000 peso single receipt purchase from SM Mega Mall, SM Center Show, or SM Center Pasig to get 2 passes. Don't miss the 50-foot gigantic Snoopy inflatable at Mega Fashion Hall's rooftop from November 17 this year to December 31. And for fur parents, SM Mega Mall's Paw Park will get a Snoopy revamp starting December 2023.
Okay, this is a partnership with SM and the Peanuts Group. Starting today, we open the mall 11 a.m. It will run until January 6. So we'd like to invite everyone with a minimum purchase of 1,000. 2 people can enter already. They can purchase it either in Mega Mall, Pasig, or SM Center Shopee. Sorry. Of course, the major goal here is to entertain the kids, no? And of course to let them to entertain the kids. Grow up watching Snoopy. Oh, it made me feel young again. We'd like to invite everyone here at SM Mega Mall Building A Event Center to witness the Snoopy Mega Adventure. Thank you.
As my usual habit, I'd like to end the day on a positive note. Let's encourage and build each other up so that no one is left behind. And that's it for tonight's broadcast. I'm Alma Angela. Stay in the news because we live in extraordinary times. Good night.